Welcome to all the members of the Alliance and the Horde. I'm Joe, here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
And we've got another Warcraft video for you all. This time, I hope you all don't mind the strange audio. It's because we're basically recording on opposite sides of the Pacific. So, please do be patient with us. Now, that said, this time we'll be discussing the character of Thrall. Thrall is probably one of the most integral characters in Warcraft 3 and in WoW. I'd probably argue in some ways he's the main character of WoW. That said, Thrall did not begin life in an impressive manner. His dad was Durotan, a failed chief of the Orcs of the Frostwolves clan, and the thing is, where his dad was not a particularly impressive general and didn't really decorate himself in honor or glory, he was, however, a decent guy. He was just not successful. He's basically a failed chieftain who tried to rebel against Gul'dan and failed. That said, despite the fact that Durotan had failed to rebel, he was, however, successful in fathering a son, and that son was Thrall. And Thrall would go on to be found, because he was basically put in a basket and cast down the sea by his mother right before she was killed. Yes, he's Green Moses. We all know it. I know it's a meme, but just live with it. But he was found by a slaver who raised him to be a gladiator because for some reason he headed up a work camp of orcs where he had taken to showing the orcs off and basically having them fight in gladiatorial matches. Thrall happened to be one of the more successful ones. And Thrall would end up fighting his way to dominance before he was liberated. And he would end up finding his way to Doomhammer. And it would be Doomhammer who would teach him and mentor him and would seek to mold him into his potential heir. And the thing is, Doomhammer by this time had grown old and so could not fully lead the orcs to victory like he once could. Sickly, he had kind of withered away, but he had retained some of his wit and cunning. And the truth is that Thrall was the only one he could rely upon to carry on his legacy. And what was to be his legacy? His desire to liberate his people. And this is where the character of Thrall kind of takes the lead, in that in a raid to liberate some of the orcs, it would be he who would end up being the principal survivor. Thrall, well, there were other survivors, of course. Thrall, though, would end up being given the hammer and the armor of Doomhammer, with Doomhammer dying with arrows in his back and having to be carried away to safety. Yes, the image of the valiant Doomhammer dying basically a coward's death is not lost on me. And yes, I have criticism for it, because rather than giving the character a grandiose death, Metzen decided to give him a dog's death. I'm still sore about it. And Thrall, though...
And I'm salty.
Yeah, you're sulky too, eh, Dan? Thrall, though, would end up going on to become the war chief. But the thing is, he doesn't have the cunning and the wit and the resourcefulness of his predecessor. He, to be quite honest, is much more diplomatic. He's a very watered down orc. He's not at all what you'd expect from someone who's lived his life as a gladiator. He's supposed to have a similar backstory to an extent as Cull from Robert E. Howard fame, but where Cull at least has a backbone, well, Thrall, sometimes you wonder. But then other times he does have that explosive orc temper. And so you can see the attraction of the character. So Thrall's a weird character. The writing with him is not always very good, if I'm being blunt. But at the beginning of the game of Warcraft 3, he's trying to rally together the orcs. He's doing his duty. And he's visited by Medivh, who warns him of what's to come. Now, this is where one has to praise Thrall. Unlike a lot of the others who scorned Medivh and said, I'm not listening, Thrall decides, okay, mysterious stranger with glowing eyes and appearing almost out of nowhere telling me, run for the hills. Okay, I guess it's time to run for the hills. Either that or I need to file myself into a lunatic asylum. Unfortunately, there are no lunatic asylums to file himself into, so he has to go with the idea that he's sane. And given that, you know, when he consults with his advisors, they're all going, yep, yep, yep. Not to mention, there is a sound practical reason for why Thrall would want to go across the ocean. He's going to have to fight for every inch of territory on the eastern continent. Whereas in Kalimdor, like they don't know what's out there. It might be a better life. He's essentially in the same situation as a lot of the colonists of the 16th century Europe. The peasants who wanted to escape from very overreaching monarchs and the violence of the many wars ravaging Europe at the time. So Thrall, this is the best chance his people have at finding a new home. So this is a very practical solution to a very real problem. So in this regard, I don't think anyone can really criticize his decision. Well, that you could, but I think there's sound reasons for why he'd cross the ocean. Like, there's nothing for the orcs in Azeroth. And when I say Azeroth, I mean the Eastern Continent. There's nothing for them. It's honestly going to be nothing but fighting, war, and basically either they must genocide their enemies or their enemies must genocide them. Going to Kalimdor means a fresh start and avoiding this sort of conflict. And this is where I don't think Thrall is being weak-willed. I think Thrall is showing a great measure of wisdom here in seeing it as, what would my people become if we stayed? Like, they basically become what Gul'dan wanted them to be. And the best way to defeat what Gul'dan is, that is to say, his ideas and whatnot, and what the Burning Legion would have the orcs be, is to remove themselves from the situation, to basically walk away. And in that regard, I really do like this plot decision. As a kid, I didn't much like it, but as an adult, I kind of see why.
A character that decides, okay, let's walk away from this battle. I may be one of the strongest beings alive, but if I win, all I'll win is essentially a burnt husk.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess Thrall would start off the game one of the most powerful characters around, which is a bit weird because he starts off one of the strongest and he ends one of the strongest. But the thing is, the writing around Thrall at the beginning is pretty solid for the most part. So now you all know the backstory to this character and where he's coming from when it comes to the decision to leave. And this is going to have a lot of repercussions on the world of Azeroth. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button, and to also check out our new book, The Crown of Blood, which is on Amazon, and you can find in the description down below.